I kind of touched upon this when I went over how to make granny squares, but in this video I'm going to go over how to change colors while crocheting. This is a very important skill, not just to be able to change color while you're crocheting to help create some more visually interesting pieces than if you're just doing a single color, but this is also the technique that you're going to use if the piece you're working on is bigger than one ball of yarn can cover. So this is also the way you're going to attach a new piece of yarn of the same color if you run out. Okay. You're going to use the same technique to change color throughout, but there are a couple sort of variations that you're going to use depending on exactly what you're doing. The first way I'm going to go over is if you are changing color either permanently or for more than a couple of rows. So this is the technique you're going to use if you're just adding a new ball of yarn of the same color because you ran out of your other one. The second technique that I'm going to go over afterwards is if you're either going to want to change color within a row and just rapidly go back and forth between colors, or if you're only changing color for a couple of rows. To begin with, you're going to just have the piece you've been working on, but in your last stitch, and this goes for whatever kind of stitch you're working, you're not going to go through and finish it. So here I'm doing double crochet, so my last two here I didn't yarn over and pull it through to finish that stitch. Instead I left these last two loops here because instead of going on with my same color of yarn, I'm going to take my new color and have it in a kind of U shape over the hook and pull that through instead. Alright. Now from here, I'm just going to, in this new color, do whatever number of chains you need to turn it. Then, since this is the first way that we're changing color kind of more permanently, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my first color. You want to make sure you give yourself enough of a tail to really properly weave it in. You can either do this by hand after you're finished and just keep going for now, leaving this here. Or I find more easy is to kind of just weave it in as you go. So what we're going to do is just start your next stitch normally, but you're going to make sure you have both tails of both colors on top of that loop before you continue with your new stitch, and then you're just going to finish it as normal. And doing it this way is just going to have your tails crocheted into your piece so you don't have to go back and weave them in later. So you just finish the rest of your row the exact same way, making sure that for each stitch that tail is underneath it. Now you're going to want to make sure that you cut off the extra of your tails before you reach the end of the row where they kind of stick out a little bit. So it's a little bit neater if you cut off in the middle around here, or if you have a bigger piece just whenever you run out. And then you just finish your row from there. And from this point on, it's exactly the same as if you were doing just crochet normally. There's no more difference. And you just repeat the same thing if you want to change back to the same color later, or if you want to start a new color, you just use the exact same technique. If you're going to change colors more rapidly, you're going to start out exactly the same way. Just take your next color, loop it around here, and pull it through to finish off the stitch before that you left unfinished. And again, you're just gonna do whatever number of chains you need to turn it. But before where we cut our previous color, you're just gonna make sure it gets stitched into your piece. So you're gonna just go into the stitch like normal. Make sure, again, the tail of your new color and the previous color, uncut, are on top of your loop here. And you're just gonna crochet like normal. Again, you just have to make sure that all the way through you're on top of both of your colors. Again, when you reach the end of the row, assuming that this is the point where we want to change color again, all you're going to do is leave that last stitch unfinished and drop the color you're working with and just plain old pick up your new lost color again. And just start going with that. Just pull it right through like that and do your chains. And then from here, again, it's just make sure that your previous color is still on top. and you can just keep going from there. Again, it's exactly the same no matter how many times you want to change color. And for this tail here, again, you would want to cut it probably before you reach the ends. I forgot to do it, so I'm just going to cut it now. It's not a big deal. Only thing is it might stick out a little bit more and be a bit more obvious here than if I had remembered to do it in the middle of the row. And the other thing about this technique is if you want to change color in the middle of your row, you can do that. Just like at the end of the row, you're going to leave your last stitch unfinished. Drop whatever color you were working with, pick up your new one, and finish your stitch with that. From here, you're just going to, again, make your stitch like normal, making sure the other color is going to be crocheted into your work. And if, say, we only wanted one stitch of this color, you're going to, again, just drop that color, pick up the other one, and finish that stitch, and continue on from there, making sure the other one's getting crocheted into the piece. And there you have it, you have a color stitch right there, just the one stitch in the middle of the row. And that is pretty much all there is to color changes.